So yeah, so we're talking about the custom integration here, and for Mouthwatch, you guys want to give us a quick overview of kind of what you envision, just so I could tailor the conversation for what you're looking for in your integration for Mouthwatch?
You okay if I drive, Brent?
Yeah, go.
Okay. All right. So you you familiar at a high level with the Teledent platform?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Well, the idea being that if these guys are actually doing all of these, if they've got all this remote clinical data that's stored inside of Teledent, that we want to be able to integrate it to the practice management system. So what we're looking to do is offer a solution where they can get over patients, encounters, appointments, exams, whatever you want to call them, and any of the clinical data. We want to be able to sync bidirectionally. And the idea being that we're building out kind of that middleware you were talking about, where Sika's, about to get a bullet, right?
Yep, exactly.
It being a part of the Teledent platform and us building that out so it works for the whole platform. But we know we've run into pretty much in every situation where trying to get the data out of, even if a system has an API that we can connect to. I'm talking about an actual EHR, and it's a local install. Even if they have an API that we can hit and they are HL7 and FHIR and everything else, that doesn't mean they've got a full implementation, so there's a very limited amount of data that we can get to. So,
for sure.
in as much as we understand what you guys have, you guys basically have what we, even with OpenDental, which should have been simple. We realized that like OpenDental doesn't handle media, their APIs. So we knew that even if we did actually build out a connector to, and I'm talking about out on the cloud, a connector to an OpenDental instance to get the patient and clinical data out, that we were still going to have to build out like a local Windows installation that would get the media from their system to ours. So we're completely comfortable with the concept of actually building out the bridge, the integration system in the platform itself, and then having the installers on premise, like you guys have built out, interacting with the practice management solutions and sending the data out.
Yeah. And John gave me the notes kind of from your last conversation as far as, integrating with the cloud-based stuff. And we do just as much. It's a little easier for you to build some of the cloud-based, but like you said, we do have OpenDental. I'm an advisor to Curve on their strategy, and so they're going to start opening up their integrations to other people. I met with Dentrix Ascend, their product manager, a couple weeks ago, and I think I convinced him to open up their integration as well. So we'll see more and more cloud-based integrations coming through this, but at the moment we just do OpenDental because we kind of go on demand, right? So for each, and I'll kind of talk to you more about the community that we've built around this. But the install is the same as probably of what you've seen with others as well, where it's you have to install a little syncer, a little installer that sits on the server, and then it listens for data, and we basically synchronize. We create an MSI file, an installer that you determine how often you want to have that synchronized and what field you want to bring over and that type of thing. It's not HL7 because it's not medical. The only HL7 integrations that I've seen come when you start integrating with WinOMS and some of the products that have an EHR associated with their practice management system, so with the DPMS. And then John said OpenDental and Dentrix Enterprise are kind of the two things that you'd be maybe looking to start with. And we've built out our pricing model according to basically with the first integration, you kind of choose which one you want, Dentrix Enterprise, Eaglesoft, or OpenDental. And we give you access to our code repository where you just have direct access to literally the code as things get updated. And I guess the good and the bad of these systems is they're not very frequently updated. So you're not getting a ton of updates. This is a 2-year, almost $200,000 development process that we've gone through to get to where we are here. So does that answer most of the previous questions? Sorry to interrupt you there. Maybe you want to give me some more feedback, but I wanted to answer your previous questions first.
No, I think that actually that gives us an idea how it is that you guys are integrating. We know that you pretty much handle all the data that we need to have you handle. And it's the other, I guess that's the other thing we realized is it's not just a matter of getting used to the fact that we're going to have to drop like a local install, service on their server, quote unquote server. But it was also the idea that the relationships with all the practice management solutions is half the battle here.
It is, yeah, and I'll get you to the top of the heap with some of these guys because I have personal relationships with them. There's, if you look on this page, maybe John sent you a link to this page already, but there's a ton of information on it. Literally like a setup guide, which will show you what you go through, what the process looks like when, at least for our sinker, right? You have to have an account. They log in, they integrate, and then they download the sinker. It's a very simple process to install it. We use SplashTop to remote in because it's a HIPAA compliant remote access way to go about it, integrating in. You guys have probably done all that stuff already, so you've got all that figured out. And then if you look on this, it gives you more of a deeper dive into what the integration requirements are, how you activate your integrations, data payloads, testing, and things like that. So that's all kind of on here. We've been, like I said, we've been doing this now for quite a few different companies. So we've really, I would say, templatized everything that we do. Here's some samples of what the MSI sinkers look like. We also have a toolbar that we can build for you. We call it the Dentrix button, where you actually can do activities from directly inside the toolbar inside of Dentrix. So we were the first one that Dentrix gave access to that ribbon, where we can actually now build a button that sits right into the ribbon. And when you click on the button, this would be your logo, then it would load this patient data from that page, from that patient directly into whatever web page you have loaded in. So that may be of interest at some point as well.
Oh, so that could push the data from Dentrix into Teledent?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
One patient at a time though. So
okay. Travis, real quick. Do we end up as Mouthwatch signing up as a developer with Dentrix and becoming a part of their program?
You do. So the reason why Dentrix and Eaglesoft send us all of their integration business is that we follow their protocols, and they've actually done a full code audit of the integration code that I showed you in Bitbucket, and confirmed and certified it. And so they send us all their integration business. And so, yeah, that fortunately or unfortunately, I mean, the good news is, when you're working with an API, it's a contract, right? It's a handshake from one place to another, and it doesn't change. If you're trying to hack in or something like that, it's much more likely that you're going to have issues. But when you actually go through APIs, it's a much more consistent environment to live in, and plus you sleep a little better at night knowing that you're following their protocols and their program, unlike some of the others are out there. So, but there's information in these videos too about how we set up that endpoint for you. This is a really good video there. And then how we install it for Eaglesoft, what that install process looks like, what the Dentrix button looks like, and then other integration stuff. So a lot of good video tutorials on that page.
So is that MSI installer, that's going into, I noticed in the file structure, you have it for each kind of folder within Dentrix.
What do you mean there?
There was one place where I saw, based on like the data field name or the record name, there were a lot of different MSI installers for each of the.
Oh, on that. Oh, so you've actually gone to the link. Look at you. You actually did the research. Yeah, so these sinker files that we have different versions of it that we've created. We actually probably should take it to just a single version, but this is, okay. This is the folder you're talking about where we have multiple versions. Yeah, we just keep a history of all the versions just so we keep our MSIs in there.
Okay, so you're not going into each individual folder. You're just running the MSI, and that will map the data. And then we're still building the middleware, or that kind of middleware sinker is something you guys are building and then?
Yeah, we build this for you. We build this this installer. That's part of the 20 hours of consulting that we give you when you sign up. And so we'll wrap this up for you into an MSI. It takes us just a couple of minutes. All we need are, like I said, the endpoint that you want to send the data to. And then on your side, obviously, you need a program to be able to pull the data in. You probably already have that done. And then we need your API key from Dentrix and Eaglesoft. And then the only two other things that we need optionally would be how often do you want the synchronization to happen? And then also what fields do you want to bring over? But we have full access with our syncer, the way we built it. We have the highest level of access to Dentrix and Eaglesoft. So with those, and Dentrix Enterprise is even easier, by the way. So because there is no API needed for that, and it's a SQL database, and all this stuff is built in .NET and C#, so it all kind of talks really well together. But yeah, so that's it. You'll just have one installer. There's no need to have the multiple ones in there. In fact, I would say we probably are confusing people by showing you all the history of all of those. So John, we need to update that on the page as well. But yeah, so that's it. It's a pretty simple process. I would introduce you to Martin. Oh, one other thing that, and this is and the way we go about doing just about everything is to build communities around what we're doing. So we have a Slack channel that's dedicated to having all of our customers in here. So every time we have a change or somebody has a question, they just log their questions right in here. Like here's a customer, here's I believe this Golden Proportions Marketing. Would you guys recommend doing it that way? Lots of updates, things like that. So Martin is a senior developer. In fact, he's one of only 3 senior developers at Dentrix. He works for us on nights and weekends, and he basically answers all these questions that the various development teams have for our customers. Like here's Smilin and Dental Warranty and all the different companies we work with. So we'll add you guys. Once you become a customer, we'll add you to the Slack channel so you have direct access to the developers and also some of the other best developers out there in the industry. And our goal is really, and Brad, you and I should have been talking about this a long time ago, because I know you're also an integration expert yourself, or your team is. We want to drive the industry to continue to push the integration. So I told you about Curve Dental. We're working with them. We're working with CareStack. We're working with CareStream. We want to get all of them in sort of a centralized, consistent integration. Ideally, at some point in the same kind of framework, but doing it in a different way where it's not a middleware like Sika is. It's just a common kind of integration language that we've created. That's probably down the line. But in the meantime, it's like, let's just get as many of these different integrations out there. So every time we add a new one, like let's say we add PracticeWorks, right? Everybody that's in the community, if they want to have access to PracticeWorks, they just help basically pay for the development of PracticeWorks integration, and then everybody gets access. So rather than each person taking 6 months and spending $50,000 to $100,000 per integration, they put $5,000 in, we pool the resources, and then everybody gets access to that code.
Right. So when you're doing enterprise, or OpenDental, you're not using HL7 standard for that. Okay.
Yeah, it's different with these systems.
And because we're going to end up needing, because a lot of our public health clinics, they're using like NextGen or Epic Wisdom.
Yep.
Is that in the plans, or?
Those are definitely possible. These integrations don't need HL7. They don't require it. And the only one that even is close to that is, like I said, WinOMS and some of the medical systems that have an EHR side of it. But for dental, nobody does integrations through HL7. The only thing that's even close to it, MacPractice uses Secure Trust as their integration. But other than that, none of them are HL7.
Yeah, we find ourselves in that space of kind of medical dental with
Yeah.
that are using.
Well, I would love to work with you guys, and again, in that community aspect, like I want to build Epic integration. I want to build some of these others. So let's work together on doing that. Let's pool some financial and development resources to get that done, where we can include that as a part of, you know, all of this integration work that we're doing. We already have the framework. Why not include that in there? You know, so
Yeah. On something like the legal side or like the development agreement and the relationship we end up having, how we're going to work with you guys to build this out and it becomes an integral part, do we end up having some kind of code escrow or some way where should anything happen to you guys, we still have access to it?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, that's why we give you direct access to the bit bucket, right? You can just you can take a download of it right now, and then you have it.
Yeah. I think you're on the right track, and getting someone from Dentrix never hurt.
Yeah.
Jay, you had some questions?
Yeah, it was actually just in terms of how that looks moving forward. Like if Brand's paying that base cost for like the Dentrix integration, and then you give us access to the repo, right? Now you're helping us to establish that developer relationship with Dentrix?
Correct.
Okay, but then if we take the code repo and we make modifications to that, because you mentioned that you guys are actually creating the MSI. So is whatever's installed, is it a requirement that you guys are the ones that are creating the installer, or are we capable of actually modifying the?
No, you're capable of taking that existing repo, downloading it, making any changes, modifications you want. My suggestion would be to have us modify it, and then we modify it. You know, if there is like something that's universal, but if there's something that's just specific to you, then you would modify it. But if it's a universal change or enhancement, you know, like one of the things that we're adding in as the next feature once we get a few more people, you know, paying here, is to get to have auto updates happen with all of our integrations, right? So it will have a feature inside the integration that says, rather than having to remote in and update the integration, we would actually have remote update happening. And we have the capability to do that. It's just the cost of paying the developer to do it. So.
Okay. So Jay, you're thinking like on a media sync or pushing a PDF into practice management?
Yeah, something like that. Or if we end up with a situation, because the installer has to live on premise, it means that if a practice had something specific that needed to have happen, we could actually modify the code base and come up with a custom MSI for them, right? Like, I'm not talking about for like a single practice, but if you had a group that had like 20 practices in it and they had a field that needed to do a thing, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I would rather keep it, I mean, I would rather keep it within a common code base, obviously. We're all about, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be, we would just involve Martin, and then we just figure out the best route to get that done. And, you know, because it sounds like something, what you're saying is something that everybody would want, you know, so.
Exactly. Okay. And Brian actually brought up one of the other pieces, which is it's media syncing. What are you guys doing with that, if you are?
Yeah, it's a hard one because the media for Dentrix does not sit in Dentrix. It sits in, I mean, we can write into the document center.
Which might be fine for now.
That's the capability. That is not in this particular version as it sits, but that we've talked about it. Again, we just build it based on what's requested. We haven't had any of our customers request document center write back, but I would like to see that happen for patient forms, for, you know, insurance forms, and for various items, right? Patient notes, whatever it may be. Dexis is typically the imaging system that goes with Dentrix, and it's completely in a completely separate database, separate tool. They're just really linked together where you can view the image files from Dexis inside of Dentrix. So that is also something that I'd like to see done in here. To date, that is not done because we've really been focused more on just data fields mapping over. But if it's possible, our developer Martin, who's the guy who works at Dentrix, is the guy that could get that done.
Right, you'd know. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, that's the questions I had.
Perfect.
All right. So what do you think? What's typically the next step with a client?
So we'll send you the proposal. Is there one or two? Where is the starting point?
I think we'd probably start with OpenDental because we have probably 3 or 4 clients that would want to use that now.
Okay.
And then Enterprise, we also have people looking to use it.
Okay, perfect. Those are 2 that love to get more people using. So, so let's get. So we'll send you a proposal for Dentrix, Enterprise, and OpenDental, and so that would be $20K.
Yeah, just send us a proposal for all 3.
Eaglesoft as well, then, and Dentrix, or
not Eaglesoft. We don't need that yet.
okay, Dentrix Enterprise, and OpenDental.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And are you doing, is the button on the toolbar part of that? Or
that's an additional integration piece. So that's a $5K on top of that.
Okay.
Yep.
And you guys have documentation on if it's kind of both ways, one way?
Correct. Yeah, it's all in the, if you go and down on this page, it has the integration data fields. Again, if it's possible in the developer programs, we've built it into the installer. And, that's why we include 20 hours of free consulting with it, is if there's something that's not in there, then you'll just, nobody's ever used their 20 hours, by the way, but, it's there. So you'll have the ability to, if there's a field that's not in here that you have access to through your API, we can provide that. But again, we've done integrations for Smile brands and for various companies that literally take everything and want to consume every piece of information possible. So we've already built most of those.
Okay.
Dentrix Enterprise, if you want write back, the only limitation of that, because we actually could do write back into Dentrix Enterprise. We can for certain fields, but if you want to write into the ledger or something like that, that's a little bit more complex. They have a professional services organization, and that's why you see most of what Dentrix Enterprise here is read. There's read write for basic demographic information for enterprise.
Right.
But we built a rewards platform for a company, and they wanted to have write back access into the ledger, and it was about a $10,000 to $15,000 engagement. So just putting that out there, if there's something that's not on here as it stands right now, there may be an additional cost for developing it. That's all. But all of what's available is very, very clearly laid out here. So,
but anything that's developed, if it's a custom development, is it owned by the community or owned by the client?
If there's other people that are interested in it, then it would be a community thing. If it's you and you specific, then it would be you that would pay for that. But I guarantee if somebody's interested in it, somebody else will be too.
Okay.
So we can share that cost, or we can share the cost with you. I don't foresee it happening. It hasn't happened yet, but it could. So.
One question I've got for you is we actually, so the API, like our system, the Telenin actually has an API right now in terms of how we're consuming data from other systems. And the reason is because we've got a Windows-based application, a local application that actually does sync the information. So there is an API that it actually accesses. I know you guys basically are saying part of what part of this package is you customize the sync so it'll send the data to us the way it needs to. But like, what format do you guys send the data in? I mean, there's a couple different ways to do that. You don't have to get in all the details. If there's something on the website, just say it's on this page. Do your homework.
Yeah, no, it is on the page, but it's sent over as a XML file. And I believe I'll have to check. Yeah, I mean that actually is probably a Martin question, just confirm. But yeah, it's in here when you go to more info. If you go to the record link API integration documentation, it will have the data under data payloads. There's more information about how that comes over.
Got it. Okay.
You're getting over my technical pay grade, but yeah, it's the only. I can tell you this: it's the only way. It's the only way that Dentrix and Eaglesoft do it. So there's really no other option. You either, but all that is that's a good question for him, and it may actually be in here.
Yeah, we're going to look through this before we toss any questions to him. But it looks like, yeah, what we'll just need to do is build an endpoint that'll consume this and put it into the service.
You got it. Exactly.
And this is for any of the practice management systems. So this will be the same for Dentrix as it is for.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the beauty of how we've kind of built it. It's a bit, it's slight variance, but for the most part, normalized.
Got it.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you could send over the proposal, any idea around kind of the dev agreement or escrow agreement or stuff like that that would go with it, then I think we could kind of circle our conversation and move forward pretty quickly.
What's do you guys have kind of a timeline in mind when you're open to make a decision, or?
Yeah, in all honesty, we've probably made a decision.
Okay. I mean, I'm happy, it's the end of the month and I'm a salesperson. So, if there's anything you can do in the next couple of days, like I'm happy to provide a discount. After that, it doesn't really do me any good, but we always like to see money come in at the end of the month.
Yeah, I hear you. Like a 31-day month.
Yeah, right. You got 3 days. So John will get you that proposal quickly so you guys can take a look at it.
Okay.
With the payment link at the bottom, and I'm willing to shave off $5,000 if you guys can do it in the next 2 days. So that's pretty good incentive. Or I can throw the toolbar in for you if you want to say, hey, I want the toolbar as well.
All right, yeah, shoot that in the proposal, and then I would say just the one thing, kind of anything on more of that legal agreement I would want to check out and run that by my attorney. And then I'll talk to Jason, and then we'll circle back with you probably tomorrow or the next day.
Okay, perfect.
All right, cool.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate your time. Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks. Fun. Bye.